Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Classified Captures. Get ready for an exhilarating journey that will leave you on the edge of your seat with your heart racing in ways you never even thought possible. Let's get right into it. For our first footage, we start with one that has been very controversial with the Classic Captures team and the paranormal community at large. Before I say any more, watch the footage. You see it, don't you? It looks like a creature noticed the Trailcam and took a look at the camera to see if it was working or rolling. It's hard to see the face of the creature or animal, but from what we can tell, it's hairy and has a well-defined nose. It's almost as though it was trying not to be captured by the camera and wasn't sure if it had captured its face. Whatever the case, the creature suddenly attacks the camera and tears it down. It leaves after a few seconds, presumably thinking it had destroyed the camera. Now, here's the kicker. Some of my team believe it's a bear, and I don't blame them. It could be, after all. But many of us and a majority of the paranormal community that saw the video believe it's rather a Bigfoot. The community believes that the creature in the capture is Bigfoot that had thought it had been captured by the trail camera while exploring the woods and wanted to destroy all evidence of its existence. I know bears are curious and can be destructive, but I'm leaning toward the Bigfoot theory. It makes the most sense to me. What about you? Next, we have another set of spectral images sent in by some subscribers after our last video. Comparing this new image to the one we've captured previously, you can see the difference, can't you? The first one seems to have machines in the capture, while the second one, much akin to our earlier captures, seems to have a deer. Going by the first image alone, I'm tempted to think that we may have an alien situation on our hands, and that what we're seeing is nothing more than a glitch between their technology and our trail cameras. Perhaps they're using some cloaking device that the trail cameras are somehow picking up through some sort of interference. What if the spectral images we are seeing, including those involving animals, are nothing more than them cloaking our animals and taking them off the planet? I know it's wild, but it's not impossible. But if that's too much of a stretch for you, our camera experts believe that this could be nothing more than damaged trail cameras causing glitches in between the frames of the images they're capturing. Some also think that we may be looking at damaged SD cards affecting the integrity of the captured images. But if that's the case, why are we seeing these images from all over the globe? It should be an isolated incident, shouldn't it? But what do I know? Speaking of creatures taking an interest in trail cameras, have a look at this footage. The footage starts with a caravan or a camper in view, but that's quickly interrupted by a canine or dog. On second thought, it's actually a wolf. It starts by licking the trail camera and the actions immediately get aggressive, and within a few seconds it becomes apparent that the creature is very interested in tearing the camera apart. It even picks up the camera and walks away from the scene. After a few seconds, however, it realizes that it's not something that it can easily destroy, nor is it something that will give it nourishment. It then gives up and walks away, or perhaps it notices movement in the camper a few meters away from it. Whatever the case, we won't know what made it walk away for sure, but this gives us an idea of how an animal will behave with a trail camera, which only convinces me the more that the first footage from today's episode could indeed be a Bigfoot. But what do you think? Next, we have footage that shows something rather out of this world. Have a look. You saw the footage, didn't you? The footage starts off looking like an ordinary evening in the woods when a fast-moving worm-like object comes from the right toward the left. It looks like a beady necklace of some sort, but it's flying. Are you familiar with things like these? Well, we are. They are called rods. In paranormal discussions, rods typically refer to elongated, fast-moving objects that are sometimes captured in photographs or videos, particularly in the presence of insects or flying creatures. The one in this footage doesn't seem to be accompanied by insects, but that doesn't take away their authenticity. It was sent in by a subscriber of this page who says they've always been where he is, and he has more. Frankly speaking, we believe him, but what do you think? Do you have any experiences with these? Tell us in the comments section. Next, we go all the way to Seattle, where this footage was supposedly taken. Have a look. The capture starts off looking natural, but we soon spot the black spot behind the trees in the snow-covered area. The uploader of this capture noticed it too and quickly went back to the area to investigate, as he was a Bigfoot enthusiast and suspected that he'd actually captured one. His curiosity and hunch paid off, as they spotted the creature within the area when they returned. But seeing them from afar, the creature did its best to escape. The second footage you are seeing is what they captured during their second visit and investigation. The footage is quite blurry, making it difficult for us to verify its authenticity. But have you seen it too? What do you think? Is it real or is it merely edited footage? Tell us your thoughts in the comments section. We'd actually love to know. Next, we have one of those that have you questioning what you're seeing. This was uploaded by someone who was very convinced that there was a demonic spawn on his property. He'd heard strange sounds at night, investigated, and seen nothing. He often heard strange noises at midnight and saw two glowing eyes appear and reappear in the distance. He set up a trail cam, hoping he could capture whatever creature it was. The aftermath is what you see. There's a black creature right in front of the metallic object in the background. The uploader is convinced that's the demonic spawn, but it looks like one of those small species of dogs to me. But what do you think? If you, the subscriber of this channel, have proven anything, it's the fact that you have an eye for detail and that you are capable of noticing even the smallest of details. Your knowledge of animal species has proven to be better than even mine, so I have this bonus footage for you. What do you see? Is it a fisher, an otter, or a mink? Or could it be another species altogether? You tell me. Put your answer in the comments section and start your comment with bonus footage so we can easily identify it. Do well to add 2 rare facts about the species, and the fastest individual with the rarest of facts receives a shout out and a feature in our next video. You could become the 4th person to ever be featured on the channel, and it's an honor you shouldn't let pass you by. All the best. If you owned a Trailcam and it fell where someone could help you by picking it up, you'd want them to, right? But what if they looked like this? Yeah, that's an actual person. If you've watched Game of Thrones, then you know he actually looks like the Night King. He has the look of the king, and although his skin isn't ice, it's pale enough to look like the Night King. The owner of the Trailcam which captured this found his Trailcam reattached and set up in a way he had initially set it up. What's more, it looked like it was on a different tree, and he could swear that the tree he'd set up the camera on was actually not there anymore, like a storm had taken it down. He sent it home, reviewed the capture, and knew instantly what had happened. His camera had actually fallen down, and this Night King lookalike had come and reattached it. But we have questions. Who is this man? Why is his skin so pale? And what was he doing in the woods dressed like that? I guess we'll never know. Stepping away from the Night King and all things cold, we have another interesting bit of footage. Have a look. The footage starts out as an ordinary drive through the dark woods until a creature in white crawls out from the right side of the bush, heading toward the left. The individual driving immediately stops, reverses, and gets the hell out of there. The one who sent this in states it was a Skinwalker, and he was the one driving. But let's analyze the video. At first glance, it looks like it's a creature with white skin, perhaps a rake. But once you zoom in, you realize that this white covering is nothing more than fabric. Could this footage have actually been the result of an elaborate hoax? Well, I believe so. There's no plausible explanation for what we see. Plus, who drives in the middle of nowhere that late and alone? The strong stance to sell this off as a skinwalker makes me think so. I mean, it definitely looks like a man crawling on his knees. But what do I know? Next, we have a couple of captures from Manchester, Connecticut that has us scratching our heads. Have a look. I wish I could tell you what we're looking at, but the truth is, I don't know. Sure, you're looking at the skeletal remains of some wild animal, but the thing is, we don't know what it is. The original poster, however, said he contacted Deep, and they told him it was a raccoon. However, we can't confirm its accuracy as this isn't an area we have much expertise. Can any of you confirm this? We'd really love to know. Can animals sense otherworldly creatures? Well, here's a Trailcam footage that answers this question. In the footage, we see a deer standing by a tree going about its business when it suddenly stops and looks to the right. It's almost as if it felt something move in that area or direction. If you pay attention to the footage just around that time, you can see it. Something transparent moves in that area. There's a ghostly creature there. However, we can't really see it, so we can't tell what it is. It's not fully materialized in our plane, but it's so slightly visible that we can see it when it moves. As much as we'd want to find out what otherworldly creature we're dealing with, we can't help but feel this footage is an answer to the mystery of animals being able to sense otherworldly creatures. It could be just us, but what do you think? What would you do when a wild animal shows up on your property? Well, you take a picture, especially if it's up close, and that's exactly what the one who sent these pictures in did. Have a look. If you're a long-term subscriber of this channel, then you know I've been chastised often when it comes to identifying members of the cervid family, and by that I mean elks, moose, and deer. When it comes to these pictures, I believe I know which one is in it. It's definitely an elk, and a majestic one at that. Although the pictures are not the sharpest and look amateurish, you can't deny that's a good-looking specimen. And if I'm correct with the identification of the animal, I think I deserve some accolades from you guys. Well, but if I'm wrong, however, please do have mercy. Next, we visit Virginia, where a park ranger has some rather interesting footage for us. Have a look. Yes, it's another cervid, but I can tell you this is a deer. There's, however, something off about the deer. It appears frozen, and initially I thought it was a sculpture or a wax statue or something. That was at least until it got poked with a stick and reacted. The park ranger who recorded the footage was left dumbfounded, and, well, I was too. In fact, I still am currently. We did some research, and turns out the creature is actually suffering from the zombie deer disease, or more technically, the chronic wasting disease, or CWD for short, which affects cervids. The disease causes disorientation, lack of coordination, repetitive walking patterns, drooling, and a vacant stare like we're seeing with this deer. It's an unfortunate thing, and although there's no scientific evidence that it can be transmitted to humans, I'd advise you to stay away from any cervids having these symptoms and inform local authorities. Stay safe out there. I know that deer looked possessed, but what do you say about this Trailcam capture? Yes, that's a small girl standing in the middle of the woods staring at the trail camera like something from a horror movie. The image was supposedly taken in a village in India where festivals are held for the possessed. Apparently, there's a priest that helps individuals get rid of their evil spirits. The little girl you see was apparently one of them, and she escaped to the woods only to be captured by the trail camera. Listening to the story, it initially sounded interesting, but it became less interesting with each word and sentence. First of all, we don't think that looks like India, but we could be wrong. Secondly, we just can't shake off the feeling that we might actually be dealing with an elaborate hoax. Call it a hunch of sorts, but that could just be us being overly critical about a picture involving a possessed little girl. Perhaps that's the spirit manipulating us so it can stay hidden. But what do you think? Is this a real picture or a possessed girl? Or is it someone simply messing with those of us who believe in the paranormal? Share your thoughts with us. Believe me when I say I've seen things, but never have I seen nor thought of seeing what I'm about to show you. And yes, that's a weird-looking creature on top of a wild boar. It actually seems to be riding it. Look at the image. You can't help but wonder what creature you're looking at. It appears to be a humanoid of sorts with some weird foot. It looks in the trail camera and poses as though it knows that it's being watched and actually wants to be seen. Nobody on my team could tell what kind of creature it was, even after running it through our in-house glossary of paranormal creatures. It was at this moment that one of our team members started scrutinizing the picture. He believes that the boar is actually not being ridden and might actually be grazing. He thinks the uploader of the image simply edited an image of a boar grazing and posted it online to make it look like a paranormal creature was, well, riding it. Personally, I think that might be the case too, but the team's divided on it. What do you think, though? Next, we have footage that doesn't seem edited at all. The footage starts off with a man fishing and his lovely sheep watching with anticipation. Or is it? Well, it turns out that it wasn't. The sheep was actually waiting for the right time to ram into the fisherman, and it does. The unsuspecting fisherman falls into the water, and you think that would be enough for the sheep, but it wasn't. Stunned, the fisherman gets up, sees the sheep, and ends up being pursued by it. The man looks like he's advanced in age, which makes it hard for me to laugh. But I can swear I probably still had you laughing, or at least giggling in your mind. If you did, I don't want to be the one to tell you, but hell, it's not a nice place. We all know that cats are quite fearless, especially tiny house cats, and we also know that they consider their owners their servants, but we didn't think this behavior of domestic cats occurs in the wild as well. I mean, take a look at this footage. Yes, that's a feline on the shoulder of a rhino. My initial thoughts were the cat believes it owns the rhino and it must bend to its will, but turns out that's not the situation at all. In fact, that's not a domestic cat, it's a genet. According to our experts, the genet was most likely using the rhino as an elevation to hunt smaller creatures within the area. I know cats are smart, but that's smart on a whole new level. Have you ever seen a genet before, or did you know there was even such a creature before this clip? Tell us in the comments section. What would you do when you wake up to a wild animal, specifically a horse, watching you sleep? Well, wonder no more. Instead, watch this footage. Yes, and yes again. That's a horse watching a woman sleep. And no, it's no peeping Tom situation. The horse probably saw the strange tent in the woods and hadn't seen it before. It might have gone to investigate, which led to what you're seeing on the screen. The camping woman was shocked and surprised, and I don't blame her. I would be too if I woke up to a horse staring me down. The uploader initially believed it was a skinwalker or a demon tailing her because it stared for so long. We love a paranormal story as much as the next guy, but that's definitely not a skinwalker, demon, or shapeshifter. What do you think? Next, we have this footage, which is a favorite of mine. In the capture, we see a man rushing towards a kangaroo. At first glance, it looks like the kangaroo is only having fun with the dog. But if you know anything about kangaroos, you know that it's got the dog in a headlock and the dog's life is in danger. The handler of the dog knew this and runs toward the kangaroo. The The kangaroo doesn't look like it's ready to let things go so easily until the man punches it. Yes, he punched it, but not only so it would let the dog go, the creature was stunned and actually let the dog go. The owner of the dog uses that as an opportunity to escape, and I must say I applaud him for that. That way, unnecessary interactions are avoided, which keeps both parties safe without needing to put anything down. Finally, we have this rather funny video. Have a look. In the footage, a pride is resting while some explorers look on from the safety of their car. One of the lionesses gets curious, but that's good for the explorers as it gave them the opportunity to look at the creature up close. That was at least until the lioness opened the door. It's at this moment they realized that there was more to life than taking videos and selfies. They quickly pull the back door, lock, and drive away. Frankly speaking, that was a close call and they got really lucky. Imagine they couldn't close it on time and the creature actually got to them. In fact, stop imagining, it's too disturbing. We're just glad they made it out safe. And that's it for today's episode. If you have any thrilling trail cam footage that you think would blow everyone away or has never been seen before, please send it in. Simply mail it to classifiedcaptures@gmail.com and it will be definitely featured in our next episode with credits to you. See you in the next one.